What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka Toe Tag and Tambo, back for the swing season. We're not a long break on the PGA Tour here. Next year it's going to change a little bit, but for this year we still got it kicking off now. Excited as can be to get back into it. Know we got football going on, but that's the beauty of Run Pure Sports, right? All sports, one price. I was counting, there's over 8 sports that you get when you sign up. So if you guys haven't done that yet, going over to runpuresports.com, get in with us, get in that Discord, start being a part of it. A lot of big winners last night in NFL. Obviously, Big T winning the championship last week for the FANDUEL Live Final. For baseball, that same night, a bunch of people shipped 20K, 50K, 3K, all members at Run Pure Sports. Here with my boy Hoop. Hoop, I'm going to bring you in, man. I think it's going to be me and you. Strokes gained, swing season, get the show out as early as we can, but not too early because, I wanted to dig in. I did the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast last night, told them, look, I'm going to be on Tuesdays now. I'm going to have more up-to-date ownership. I'm going to have some pivot plays, some leverage, some stuff like that we can talk about and dive into. And I'm excited to do it with you, my friend. How you doing this week?
Yeah, doing well. We got NFL obviously going. That takes up a lot of our time nowadays. But hey, PGA, they don't give us much of a break. They're right back at it with is this the first official event then of the season, right?
Oh yeah, so, this is it,
yes.
man. The gamers love it. The Fortnite Championship they call it, but it's the Fortinet Championship, and it's a good one. Max Homa won it last year. Had Mad McNeely up there, Matsuyama was up there, a bunch of these guys that we're going to talk about. But it's definitely a fun one for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at the top of the board here in terms of the pricing, and yeah, some names are going to surprise you just because we typically don't see these guys priced up here. Max Homa, 10-1 to win this event, the favorite. I mean, it's a different type of feel here, but again, it's, big prize pools across the industry, specifically on DraftKings this week. So it's important to dive in and dig. And, these are the sorts of fields where if you know your stuff, you have a little bit of an advantage. So I'm excited to talk through this with you.
Yeah, and a couple notes too, like, the course, the stats, all that stuff. Like, that's what you'll find out there. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on that. We will in a moment here, but just to remind you, like, this is the other thing about the swing season stuff and why we love it so much over at Run Pure Sports. Talked about it already, but we put up still our cores. We put up our tier plays that we like, guys that we like in each range the most, 1 or 2 at least. We're in the Discord talking about strategies and going back and forth, pivots, leverage plays, all that stuff. So you're going to want to be a part of that because that's where we pick up our edge. The second piece is obviously the ownership. While I've got it, fine-tuned a little bit here, the majority of it will come, or like at least better numbers for me in the conversation in our Discord around that will be over at Run Pure Sports. So you got to get over there for sure. Sign up, get in while you can. It's a great time because NFL, baseball, all those other sports still going on, bigger MMA cards coming up and all those things. But the other thing, Hoop, about these weeks, at least during football, very what I call lazy weeks. Not by us, we're diving in, but I'm talking many players will just listen to their couple of podcasts, take what they heard that sell. Oh, so-and-so said this guy sounds good. Let's jam them in, even stuff we're saying, but we're always trying to teach you how to play. It's not who you play, it's how you play them. I go on about this all season, all sports, but it is true. And this week, that's going to be a big deal because a lot of guys, well, there's many in the field and everyone has their guys they like and will space out somewhat. For the most part, people will congregate in the areas that get heavily owned. And for the guys that get heavily owned, you want to bump your ownership projections like 3 or 4 points because they're actually going to get higher owned than these sites even think when you see it actually shake out on Thursday morning. Another thing we could do with these shows, Hoop, certain weeks like this week, we don't have it yet. It's actually still in reservation mode. But as of now, Liv has posted a classic slate for this week. So we'll see how that's all going to shake out. My boy Skyhook was just asking on Twitter, like, how's the all 4 under 70 bonus going to work since there is not 4 rounds, but the scoring still shows it. So again, we'll keep you guys up to date on that stuff. But Hoop, what are you thinking for this week for, how we want to break it down? Do you know much yourself about the course, the stats? Like, we're going to dig into all the guys that people want to know, but what are you looking at from strategy perspective headed into this week?
Yeah, so I mean, this will be more of like a first look type thing for me. Obviously, I'm deep into the NFL showdown streets, the NFL main slate streets. But one strategy we'd like to employ quite a bit is stars and scrubs, and it's difficult when you look at this top tier. So that's one thing that immediately stands out to me And then obviously some guys that are priced way up here that we typically don't see up here. So you have to adjust your mindset a little bit and kind of take the price out of it. It's hard to really say, okay, I really like Mav McNeely, but I can't pay 9.9K. You're going to say that about every guy you look to roster this week. There's nobody that is priced where they're typically priced. So you got to kind of eliminate that mindset. That's the one thing that definitely stands out to me right out of the gate.
Yeah, for sure. And do us a favor, guys. I know not as many live watching because of the time of day, but that's the whole point, is to get this out a bit earlier for you guys to have a little bit more time to digest it. So if you are watching this on replay later, still do us a favor, hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. If you're here now, you guys know it. The algorithm, that's what keeps the show free. Do us a favor, hit that button. We're doing so many free shows here on the channel. And so if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that big red button in the bottom right corner. Get notified when our free shows go out. Hoop, you brought up a great point there. One of the first things we talked about in the Discord today, there's a guy actually named Dietrich, and Thomas Dietrich happens to be in the field, but Dietrich said something about something this week, and I forget what it was. And I said, is this a sign that we should be playing Thomas Dietrich? And he said, I know you're a little bit superstitious, Tambo, but he said, from being in the Discord, but he said, I don't think you should. And the other thing is we're paying a premium for the guy. You just said it, though. We're paying a premium for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Corey Connors, 10-3, might be his highest price ever. Matsuyama is, you could say, underpriced maybe because we paid over 10K for him in the past. I normally don't because it hasn't fared well, at least for me. But in this field, it actually makes sense that you could have seen him at a higher number. The other thing, like Pendrith, 98, Taylor Montgomery, 85, Justin Suh, 82. You wish you could get these guys for less. So do we. But they've adjusted it, like you said. So you got to be comfortable with that when you're diving in. And in some cases, you could do what I call is paying up for probability, meaning paying up for a number. People like the guy. They, for some reason in their mind, can't get wrapped around the price, which then leaves his ownership down. And that's where you get the probability in your favor. In some cases, you can find some edges that way. But couple notes here, Hoop, and then I'll click it back to you and we'll get right into it. Just, the course, there's a bunch of course history here. They've played it for years. Guys like Brendan Steele have even won it twice. Like you can go back and see all the course history here. Another thing is just from a stats perspective, the breakdown is kind of simple. You can sort of bomb it out there if you want, put it wherever, wedge game in, make your putts. Whoever putts best is going to be able to come out. There's a lot of par fives. There's 4 of them. So plenty of scoring out there. I mean, just a lot of that. There's certain holes that are harder than others. So it keeps the score pretty dialed in. Doesn't usually, I don't think it has broke 20, but it can get up there. So, or at least in the recent years I'm talking, but you can go back and look at that as well. I think that's just something to keep in mind, but everyone's playing the same course. So we're going to be more so comparing them within their ranges. Let's start with that there, Hoop. We'll go right into it. Let's go 9,200 and up. We'll do it sort of that way. We've got Hideki Matsuyama, but there's only 4 guys in the 10K range. So break down the upper range and then dive into the 9K range, and we can break it down from there. I'll bring up some roster construction stuff as well.
Yeah, so in this top tier, I mean, I'll start at the top with Hideki at 10-7, and I'm going to continue to fade. I mean, I've faded him for so long now, and it's worked out so well. I mean, dating back to the injury stuff months ago, like just fade Hideki. It's worked out. He's 10-7, the most expensive guy. I'm fine just taking him off the board for me. So I will be off of him. I don't care if he's low on whatever it is. I haven't played him. Hasn't burned me. I'll continue to fade. Max Homa, 10-1, has won this event before, really showed, he's a guy in the past that we always talked about on this show. I know Snyder always talked about only playing early on in the season, when they're in California, but man, he played well all throughout the season. I mean, he was a phenomenal DFS play and finished 5th at that tour championship. A lot of top 20 finishes, top 5 finishes, kind of turning the corner a little bit this last season. So I think he looks to build on that. In on him at 10-5. Corey Connors at 10-3. Probably won't go there. I mean, I think he's fine to finish like 20th this week. I think, when it's all said and done, he'll be somewhere in that range. It's not enough at 10.3K. So I'll be off of him. I will be on Theegala. He's a guy that I think can make that leap. Made it all the way to the Tour Championship. Obviously didn't finish great because he was starting way back, but 13th at the St. Jude, 15th at the BMW Championship, in contention a lot last season. I think he makes a leap this year. In on him. Our guy Mav, I don't know what I'm doing with Mav yet. I got to talk to Snyder, but it didn't really do anything special down the stretch here at all. So 9-9 for Mav, I'll probably be out on. Next few guys, though, I do like quite a bit. Taylor Pendrith, played a ton of him I believe you did as well, towards the end of that season. 9.8 for Pendrith, not a comfortable price tag, but man, the results for him recently have been good. This field's weak. I think he can definitely do it this week. Same with our guy Cam Davis. Went on a nice run there to finish out the season. 8th at the John Deere, not a great field, but guess what? Neither is this. 6th at the Barracuda, not a great field. Neither is this. 3M 16th, 14th at the Rocket Mortgage, and then 13th at the St. Jude, and then finished 35th at the BMW Championship, which ended his season. But kind of another guy I think could kind of make that turn. Davis Riley had an interesting year last year, started out very strong, kind of fizzled out at the end. Maybe a few weeks off did him right. So I'll be in on Davis Riley at 9.4, and then a few fades for me. I'm not going to play Tom Hoagie, and I'm definitely not playing Griot at 9.2.
Yeah, so I did the preview show last night with my boy Kenny Kim going through it, and I actually thought, I wanted to see how ownership would shake out some. So I'm going to start backwards here because what you just brought up, I think is huge. I had already bet Riley at 35-1. Like I said, it's just a bet on talent for those that don't know anything about him. Incredible talent. All these guys are good, but I'm saying he's just one of those up and comers with Willie Z sort of in that class that's coming up. I think he's going to get his win very soon. He lost in a playoff to Sam Burns just last season when actually we were all at Big T's house that week. Had a huge week. It was fun, but I needed Burns. So that worked out well for me, but Davis Riley was right there. There was another time he was coming down the stretch. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but just the point being, last night, I thought he would still gain a lot of the ownership, but you could already tell early on, it's all moved to Pendrith and Davis. Pendrith, someone said it in the chat, is firing up at like 30% on some sites.
Really?
I don't see it being that high.
I don't think it's going to get up that high.
I don't think so either, but I'll tell you two things, 22 to 27 range, I would easily put him in there because the thing is up top, not as many want Hideki, right? Homa's the defending champ. So Homa's definitely going to get ownership. Just to talk on that real quick, I actually have Homa at heavier ownership, a better play than Decky at lower ownership. And it's just the way it still shakes out based on talent and suitability for the course, all those factors, things that I weigh in, where you'll always say, but can't you just pivot up top? They're all very good. I like what Hoop said. He really did distinguish himself outside of just California, but now we go back to California, a place he's very comfortable as the defending champion. Yeah. So you can still get different by going with Homa. And I'll tell you one way, I think it's very easy. And this was back to my original point on Pendrith. It's very easy to build a Homa Pendrith or a Homa Davis lineup. Our guy Complex Kid in the chat said Homa and Davis locked in, eat the chalk. It's fine because there's still places to get different down low. I'm just saying I do see a lot of lineups starting that way. And maybe it's for good reason. I just think at the end of the day, like Pendrith Davis lineups will work. You can do it differently there. McNeely and Riley, well, they may come in at the 12 to 15 range if it's going to be Davis and Pendrith at the super high ownership. And then also right at the bottom at 9,200, Grillo, another past champion here, I think is going to get a little bit of steam as well. That's going to leave those guys in the area where it's easy, like we talk about Hoop, to just get your 25 to 30% and get way overweight. And then talking from a construction perspective, you can go with Homa and then drop down to the 8K range. Because while there is some guys in the 8K range that are getting steamed up already, it won't be as much as Pendrith and Davis and those guys in the 9K range. Last point to that, guys, is that I think a lot of people will actually skip the top more than you think. As easy as it is to play it, when we get to the 6K range, there's a lot of guys, not as many that people are going to be comfortable with as in the 7 and 8K that people love. So what that tells me is I think a lot more people will start with Pendrith than you'd think, is how I should say it, because I think it's just easy to build that way. So I can see that happening also. So one of the bigger ways to go here would be to pick a guy up top, maybe two, and skip the 9K range altogether. I really like it from a perspective of like, if you like Homa, maybe just leave Pendrith and Davis out and drop down to that next 8K range. And that's where I'll go in a second with you, Hoop. But for me, Homa, Connors doesn't fit the course well at all, to be honest. But just from a talent perspective, another guy that's really good up there. You need so much to happen. I won't be heavy on him, but I do think he's interesting. I do like Mav. I definitely want to hear what Snyder says. He's been the McNeely whisperer for us. But the point would be, Kenny was talking about last night, everyone's going to see the same thing. He's been so bad on approach lately, but I don't really care about lately. It's actually been a while to be honest. At the FedEx St. Jude in Memphis, he was actually good on approach and he had an all right week. So he can find it. He's another guy that I think it was that round 4 there that day. He had a great round. And again, he can find it at any given time. He's a Cali kid himself. So I got no problem going there, especially when Pendrith and Davis are very popular. I like Pendrith more than Davis. Chalk involved. I would take Pendrith still, just better course. Just look at the guy, and he's got to get a win at some point here too, but he just bombs it out there. The 4 par 5s, all that. Davis is really good on those par 5s, but I would still take Pendrith over him. Riley, I like. And then Tom Hoagie was the other one. Someone did mention it in the chat, but I actually think Hoagie is a guy. I've got him like 12%. Maybe we get lucky and he comes in at less, but I think his talent is there that we can use him. Moving on though, Hoop, 8K range. Let's go Gary Woodland at the bottom, all the way up to 2-time winner, Brendan Steele. What are you doing here in this 8K range?
Yeah, I'm interested in Steele at 8.9K. I mean, the course history, like you said, is good. 8.9, it's not 9K. He's a little bit cheaper than that previous tier. So in on Steele. Denny McCarthy, I just have such a bad taste in my mouth from last season. I mean, he not only, tilted us and missed a couple cuts. Well, he comes back and starts playing like super well after, totally screwing us. I'll just be off of Denny for a little while. I just can't do it mentally. Troy Merritt at 8.7. I do like Troy Merritt. Played decent again down the stretch here. 8.7, not a comfortable price tag for a guy like Troy Merritt, but I am interested in him. Our guy Snyder did send me a message and he wanted me to mention Taylor. Is it Taylor Montgomery? Is the first name Taylor? Yeah, he really likes Taylor Montgomery. He said this is his Korn Ferry Tour guy that he's going to be in on. You look at the results from Korn Ferry recently, top 10 in 4 straight events, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 9th. Definitely willing to take a chance on him at 8.5K. Webb Simpson is just going to kind of go into that Hideki Matsuyama category for me. I think his game might be trending, in the wrong direction, just long term. I haven't seen anything out of him. Does a new season, fresh start, maybe get some things going for him? Yeah, sure, but I am not going to be on him if he does turn it around here. So off on him. Molinex, I think, is a guy that been playing really well. You look at the finish to the season. Won the Barbasol, 21st at the Open, 37th at the Rocket Mortgage, 5th at FedEx St. Jude, and then 12th at the BMW Championship, where his season ended because he didn't advance. In on Molinex for sure. I mean, I think this course does set up well for him. Justin Sue, no real comment there. Nor and I will not play at 8.1K. I will be on Wyndham Clark at 8K, another guy that showed some glimpse of solid play down the stretch. He's a guy I typically like. 8K fair price tag for him. And then Gary Woodland, I'll pass on. Another guy, I'm just kind of going to throw him into that Webb Simpson category. I think his best days might be past him.
Yeah, I don't mind him as much because I actually don't mind Gary Woodland. I bet him this week only because if you think about it, like what I said earlier, he can get it out there, can find a putter. He's a guy that could just flash it. So I had a little bit of interest in him. I was just trying to get something sorted here right quick. But I think they asked in the chat the Taylor lines, Taylor Pendrith, Taylor Montgomery, and Taylor Moore, who we'll get to in the 7K range. You know about him, Hoop, for sure. Taylor Moore. But,
that might be Snyder. That might be Snyder's core right there.
So listen, this is the thing. Snyder is my boy. He loves to claim a golfer, though. He loves to come in first. Everyone is on Montgomery this week, so you can't just claim him. He did claim Taylor Moore, though, and that came to fruition. So excellent call. He's claimed a couple good guys that have done very well, but he claimed Gotterup too, so he's got to stick with Gotterup here. You can't just bounce around and take everyone, Snyder. And
the other dude, who's I saw him in this field, McGreevy. He was on. He got us on McGreevy, and McGreevy's been a disaster.
Yeah, so the T3 there with Pendrith, Monty, and Moore might be a thing in this range for me. Even with a little bit of ownership, it's it doesn't. Like I said, here's the thing about the 8K range. To preface it here, these guys are going to be owned: Montgomery, Justin Suh, Molinex, and Steele. Those 4. But they just can't be as owned as those guys in the 9K range. And again, when people start putting them all together, that's where I think you run into trouble here. Cash games, double ups, whatever you're playing this week, a higher dollar, smaller field, a qualifier, right? For like a $9 into the 333, something like that. I'm fine with mixing it up and just getting different in a couple places. But in that large field, $20 with 100K up top, you're going to want to at least be a little bit different. And remember, we're talking about it reminds me of week 1 NFL. So I'm sure people that are watching this are in the mix of NFL right now. Everyone wanted to make everyone work on week 1. They all have their guys from best ball drafts, from up and coming rookies, all these different dudes, and they just aren't all going to hit on week 1. It's the exact same thing in golf here. Everyone's going to have their dudes. We know where the ownership is going. That's in the certain places like the Pendrith and the Davises of the world. Montgomery's going to get steam, but there is other graduates that the guy that graduated in third versus the guy that graduated in seventh, there's not that big of a difference. But in some cases, you'll see it in areas where there is a big gap in ownership, and it's never as big of a gap as you think in talent. Any of these guys can pop at any time. Justin Suh, who we'll talk about here, segue into it, he's a prime example. He came onto the PGA Tour in the class of Hovland, Morikawa, and Wolf. Look how that went. He never came through until now. He just won on the Korn Ferry Tour, and he's coming in hot. Great results, almost like Taylor Montgomery, but Wolf was the guy, and Morikawa too, that came out sort of the hottest. Hovland then took over, like, oh, it's going to be Hovland now. Wolf is now at Live. He sucks, right? People say that. Now he's been
doing well on Live.
I was just going to say, he's starting to show a little form over there. I don't mind him for this week, actually, but just that's another topic. But I will say that's where it's funny. Like, guys just flip around, and eventually, like, Taylor Pendrith is coming into his own right now. I saw it asked in chat, will he be better than Corey Connors? Definitely could be. I mean, at the end of the day, he used to be Corey Connors' roommate, sort of under his wing while Corey was doing his thing, winning up. But all it takes is like Corey Connors' run. He won a Monday Q. He goes on to win the event at the Valero that week. And then since then, he's been sort of our darling, depending on the price tag. We like him a lot cheaper, obviously, but just of note. So in this 8K range, I'm with you on McCarthy. Can't really get there, but Steele, the history is very good. It's a course that sets up well. It's one of the courses where he putts very well at. His ball striking has been awesome. So if he can just putt like he always does here, then fine. If you see by the end of the week or by tomorrow that he's getting up to 20, 25%, I don't think we see that. Then I'd have less interest. But currently around 12 to 15 range, I'm okay with that. Troy Merritt is a guy I'll play when they're scoring out there, and he's a bit, again, priced up. But Merritt at 7,600 would have been fine. If you add 1,000 to it, that's about right. Corey Connors at 10.3, you'd like him at 93 or less. You just got to keep looking at it like that. Taylor Montgomery, obviously we're in on. We talked about it already. That's probably really it. The one guy I was going to say at the bottom with Gary Woodland, the other guy for me would be Wyndham Clark. Here's an example who we've always played a little bit of Wyndham Clark. He can bomb it out there. There's par fives for scoring, all those factors. What's really the difference between him and Suh, Mullinex, Dietrich, those guys that are in there? Probably not much. And if he's going to show it like 8-9%, I'm going to be fine with that. There's plenty of room for us to get overweight on a guy like that. Anything else here for you in this 8K range?
No, I think we summed it up. I will be on Justin Suh, like you said, a guy I'm not super familiar with, but man, he's kind of turned it around. I remember when he kind of came on, but he got overlooked because of all those other big names. But similar to the last Taylor Montgomery, I mean, you look at it, 7th, 2nd, 5th, 37th, 9th, and then a win. I'll definitely take a chance on him at 8.2K.
Yeah. And that's how you got to look at it. Like, this is the good example, though. And I'm not saying to do this. This is just to give you an example. I love Taylor Montgomery this week because not only the stats and everything you talk about, but he suits the course so well. That's the other thing. It's like literally a perfect setup for him. So I like him. I bet him at 50-1. I think that's something else you could get after. But here's an example. His recent results are incredible. And you're definitely allowed to play both of these guys, but he's 8,500. We're not even there yet. So I'm skipping a tier, but we're going to go back to the sevens in a second. But Will Gordon is 6,900 in this field. He's coming off a 26th and a 46th, but before that, it was a win on the Korn Ferry Tour, a 5th and a 5th, all in a 3-week span. And he's, crushing it the last 5 events. And that's just an example where he won't have near the ownership that Montgomery has. He costs 6,900 and not 8,500. It's just one example. I wouldn't put them in the same class. I'm taking Taylor Montgomery all day. That's why the price is there. But the point is, for 1 week of classic slate, can he show up and score the same and do better? Yes, he could. Go ahead.
Has Gordon played on the tour in the past or no? Am I thinking of a different guy? Okay, no, that's what I thought. I thought I recognized the name. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, that's just an example to give. There's ones that are closer in price range. I'm just saying all people are going back and looking at is that. And when you look on sites like Fantasy National or other sites that are out there for stats, they won't necessarily have everything that you're looking for because it's the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, Pinnacle Bank, where he came 5th, all these ones here, but he's got some results. And you can go back to, 27 last season in 2021, 36th at the Honda, 34th. This is Will Gordon still. We're going to do the 7K range. Corrales Punta Cana, 34th, the Honda, much stronger field, 36th. Arnold Palmer, one of the strongest fields in regular season tour events, 49th. Puerto Rico, 27th, the weak field. Pebble Beach Pro-Am, 21st. This is Will Gordon. What has he been doing lately? Not as much as you'd think, but when you look at the win, the fifth, all that stuff in there, it's hard to say that there's that much of a gap. That's all I'm trying to bring up Let's move on though. Let's go back to this the 7K range there, Hoop. Let's go Chris Kirk, your boy, right at 7,900. Let's go down to 7,500. Let's do like Adam Long and Spawn all the way up to Chris Kirk. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I got to play some Chris Kirk at 7,900. I mean, I just look at him compared to some of those guys in the 8K and 9K range. I just don't see much of a difference. Did he hurt our feelings down the stretch? Yeah, for sure he did. But I'm going back to him at 7.9. Not going to play day. Cameron Champ, I think, is an interesting play at 7.8K. We like him at some of these easier tracks where you can just bomb it out. And he has like winning upside too. Like if his game's on, like he's going to be there, and he scores well with birdies and eagle upside. So I am interested in him. I will be going back to Snyder's other boy that he's claimed, Taylor Moore. A nice stretch towards the end of the season, fizzled out in the playoffs, obviously, which you could have predicted. But 7.6 for him, I think, is a really good price tag. Nick Hardy, I have some interest in at 7.5K. And then, I'm going to my real boy. I mean, this is probably my number one boy, Adam Long. Sucked at the end of the season, 7.5K. Definitely like me some Long this week. He will be in a lot of my lineups.
I'm with you on that one, by the way. I love that. I love JJ Spawn right there at the same price with him. Another guy that can just score so well with the 4 par 5s that, that's something to have on your side. Can get hot with the putter at times. So I'll go there. Nick Hardy is my guy.
Yeah, I like
Snyder's
him too.
Claiming everyone. I've talked about Nick Hardy plenty of times last season when many weren't on him when he came back from injury. I've been on this guy for a while. So I bet him this week at 80-1. And I like him quite a bit here on DraftKings as well. He's another one, like I said, he may get some steam throughout the industry. The point is not everybody can get the ownership. I have him around 9 or 10% right now. So I think he's someone that you can go to there. Going up a little bit. Carl Yuan, I forget how you say his name. I got to look it up again after this. But he's the number one guy coming off the Corn Ferry Tour. This guy can definitely.
If you start mispronouncing names, I'm gonna have to get a list and start sending them your way. The guess the golfer or whatever segment that we do. I'm gonna have to test your skills.
Yeah, that one's the only one because I forget exactly how you say it. It's I don't want to mispronounce it on purpose, but just to say, yeah, it's not what I said. So, but anyway, one of the best coming off the Corn Ferry Tour. If you follow him, he's a very good player. A little bit, bad off the tee, but it's not going to matter as much here. And he could score with the best of them. So I do like that part about it at 7,800. And then Champ, who you mentioned, we like him. We're definitely like him in California. He's got a couple of his wins, and then on top of it, you got the factor of the boom bust, like in GPPs, large fields. Juan Dozer says, yeah, I think that is right, Carl Juan, but. You've got Champ, who is obviously very volatile, but this is the price I want to accept that at. Like, I'd rather play Champ at 7,800 than, and this is a different class. I love Thigala, but just to give an example, Thigala at 10K is also very boom bust, but if he booms, he could get his first PGA Tour win, and I like his talent. So it's not a direct example, but just to show when I'm playing boom bust, I'd rather do it at this type of price tag where I can get away with it at 7,800. At 10K, it's tough to get away with it. So that's all for me, though, really, in this range, man. I don't have too much else. Who do you like in the 7,400 and down range? We'll just go to 7K even.
Yeah, definitely interested in Lipsky at 7.4K. Had some success down the stretch. Alex Smalley's another guy that I'll be on at 7.3K. Some solid finishes. I mean, 10th at the Scottish Open. That was very solid for him. Birdie upside, which you definitely like. Good price here at 7.3. Definitely one of my favorite plays in this range. I'll have some Hubbard at 7.3. Svensson, definitely going to play Svensson. You know me, I have a thing for these Canadian guys and Canadian golfers.
I'm married.
I need to correct myself.
Sorry.
Svensson at 7.2. Lee Hodges, love Lee Hodges at 7.2 as well. A guy that really turned it on towards the end of the season. Was in contention a couple times. 7.2K. I'm on my guy Callum Tarrant at 7. I actually really like this range. These are some of my favorite guys down here. Tarrant at 7.2. Neesmith at 7.2. That's a great price tag for him. I will have some Goddard up at 7.1K. Although he hasn't been playing all that good. Maybe I'll have to.
I think he's like the Cam Champ play though, right? Like I don't love this is what I was saying too. Someone like last night with Kenny, he's like, doesn't it bother you that X hasn't happened? Kenny's my boy. I'm just saying, like when he posted like that, I was like, it doesn't bother me because it's the swing season. I don't know what they worked on for we don't know what the best guy if they partied for the last 3 weeks or whatever, like in some cases. So it's like I have no idea, but I will take on the risk with a guy like Goddard up and his upside.
Yeah. I mean, on Goddard up at 7-1. Like if things are right, he can be in contention. He can win. So I do like that call. I see Flowers in this field at 7K. People will click that name. I will not. I
Priced
will not.
appropriately.
Priced appropriately is him not being in the field. Like he sucks. Not playing Flower. But definitely in on Chesson. Our guy Chesson at 7. Real nice guy. I mean, personally, I think he's awesome. Some success down the stretch as well, and fizzled out in the playoffs. But 7K for Chesson. He's fully committed to this stuff. He's just an awesome dude. In on Chesson at 7K.
Nice guys finish last, Hoop.
That
but he
is
is a nice
point.
guy, and I know he's been good to you and the fam. So
yeah,
I like the play actually here this week. And Flower, I'll give you that one. I can't give you the Kyler Murray bottom 5 in the league earlier, but I can give you the Flower one because God, it's been bad, man. Like people will go back too. Like
he's gonna be owned. Kid. Like what's the ownership on him? People will play him. They play him every week.
I've got him light right now, like 3-4 range, but
it'll be higher, man. Everyone, he's always higher.
Yeah, I feel like right now though, because everyone's low on him. Like I said, in swing season, it's when it gets a little bit, more obvious because no one's gonna say they like you could get on him for any reason. So I can see him actually coming in low owned, but I don't think it's the play here. I like a bunch of guys here too, and I will say this, Hoop, I mentioned it last night, but I think usually like what I did last season worked very well for me. My best PGA season ever was to tighten the pool for sure. But at the same time, I also near the end of the season, it was working out okay, but I'm going to experiment with it. But I was going a little bit more aggressive at the bottom with these punt plays and mixing up some of the guys up top. Because when you get on that playoff stretch, they're all in such great form. It's very hard to distinguish. Pricing becomes usually pretty good and tight. So I like that. Now I'm flipping it for sure in the swing season. This has always worked for me is take some more stands up top with what you have strong conviction on and pepper these guys in because this is really the unknowns. Like I said down here, this is where you have no idea. We could make a story or a narrative about any of them, but I'm going to still keep a tight player pool, 30, 35 guys, but I'm going to mix these guys a lot more and really just take stands up in that 10, 9, 8K range and maybe only have, 8 to 10 guys up there. And then I can get 20, 22, 25, whatever I want to get down in this range. I also don't love the 6K range. So we'll go through that after this, but just to name my guys in the lower 7s, David Lipsky, Steven Yager. Those are two of my boys that I like. They can score. Alex Smalley, Patrick Rogers, Cali Boy, and he can score. I mean, Poa, this is better greens, Poa Bent. So I like him here. Mark Hubbard. I like his scoring. Definitely Patrick Rogers. Alex, he just mentioned after I said he's, must be a little lag. I like that. So I'll get my thoughts out first. Laird is another guy I like. I'm not as big in love with Svensson. He's a guy you like Canadian guys. I appreciate that, Hoop, but I will say he is not, I don't know, like, is he really going to find the putter at 7,200? You can pay to find out, but I like your other guy, Callum Tarrant, and I like Matthew Neesmith. We've played a bunch of him. He's hurt your feelings before. I know that, but Matthew Neesmith,
big tease
definitely
weekend.
Get there. I like him. Doc Redman is one that stands out, and then Gotterup and List to round it out. So what's that? 1, 2, Eckroat. I forgot about. Snyder will probably want to claim him too. He's a very good golfer. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, that's 8 guys in this range. 9. If you go up above, I liked probably about 8. That's 17. Pick another 10 up top is 27. And then we get to pepper throughout. I can add some 6s, which I will. And then from there, I can either add more 10s or add more 7s and 6s to stick to around 30 to 35. That's how I think you should be doing it in the swing season, instead of trying to be like, oh, but this guy they said is an up and comer, but that guy has upside, but that guy's good. You do still have to take some stands. So I'm going to do that. That's sort of how I'm breaking it down for you guys, just to give you an inside look at how I'm breaking it down. But let's go into the 6K range, Hoop. What do you want to do in here? 6K and down. You can do it like 69 to 65, even if you want. We got time.
Yeah, I just kind of went through and wrote down, a group of guys that I, initially have some interest in here, all the way from 6 down. At the top, the first name that kind of stood out was Bo Hostler, 6.9K. He's another guy when things are going right, he tends to get to the top of leaderboards, and in the 6K range. That's something I definitely value. I will add Mr. Will Gordon in because I'm assuming that you think he's a really good play. So in on Gordon, our guy Hayden Buckley, 6.8K, played a lot of him towards the end of the season and, made some cuts along the way. 6.8K, I think is a fair price tag for him. Another Canadian for you, Mackenzie Hughes, 6.8K, just seems too cheap in this field. I mean, he's not like a great, awesome golfer by any means, but 6'8" for him seems like a value. Bramlett's another upside guy that I think could do well here. Grayson Sig at 6.7K. I like him a little bit. Doug Gim, 6'6". Not really sure why I like him, but 6'6" seems pretty cheap for Gim. His game has been pretty bad recently. That's probably why he's 6'6", but yeah, I'll probably have a little bit of him. Yeah. Another Canadian, surprise, Nick Taylor, 6.6K. I can't resist. He is one of the few guys that no matter what, I play every single week. There's not many guys like that for me in PGA DFS. Nick Taylor is one of them. And I'll be the first to admit it has not been good for a while. Like he's been really, really bad for a long time, but I will always play little bit of Nick Taylor, Malnati, Patton Kizzire, both guys I have interest in. Kizzire seems too cheap as well. I mean, big birdie upside for him. Some cheaper guys, Smotherman, 6.5K. I really like him. Good price tag. Brian Armour, maybe a little bit of him. Bryce Garnett. And then a guy that I used to play a ton of showed a little form here for us down the stretch, and that's Mr. Werenski at 6.4K. That might do it for me. Harry Higgs, 6'2", maybe throw a dart on him. But there's a lot of guys I like down here. I honestly might have to make some cuts.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, are you gonna play it pretty similar to how I had said it? Like you're gonna mix and match and try and keep it down to a tighter pool?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I do want to, I think play more of these guys down here and then make my stands up top. But another guy, Cameron Young, 6K in this field.
I don't think so.
Carson
Young.
People might get confused. Carson Young,
if he was in this field, would be 10-8. Should be at the top, probably. I don't know. Be under Hideki maybe, but yeah, he's definitely not here.
It is funny seeing him at the bottom at 6K. C Young, so be careful. It's not Cameron. It's Carson, and I'm sure Carson sucks.
Yeah, now you just jinxed this into reality where we're going to see C Young all over the board, and I can already see that. Sometimes you can see like the headlines or like the people making the Twitter jokes. Like, oh, C Young's winning, Cameron Young, like the worst joke, but it's a dad joke kind of thing, and that's what you do, Hoop. So you could make that into reality. You guys down here, you mentioned would I like Bill Gordon? Of course, I went on that tangent earlier. Michael Kim's another guy. So PGA Tour winner, past winner of what's the name of the award again? I always forget about it, but the same one that Norman Zhang and some of the other guys have won in the past, big names, but the Jack Nicklaus Award for the guy coming out of college then didn't pan out. And now he's kind of got back on a good track here. He had his win at the John Deere that one time, but if you look at his recent 17, 34, 26, 5th, 13th, 3rd, 7th, 18th, just crushing it. So getting back to work here now, I think that's a good spot for him. CT Pan got a little bit of interest there, again, just based on talent. Hayden Buckley, I'm with you on. I like that call. Robbie Shelton, another one down here, 26, 28. And then before that, he won on the Corn Ferry Tour, a guy that has upside. So I like him and Bramlett. After that, it drops off. The one that I would like that you said down below, or two, I guess, is Taylor and Kizzire. And I might not play all these guys. I'm just going to give you some down here. Like I said, I'll have to add and subtract from depending on what I do up top. But Nick Taylor, our Canadian boy, won at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, which is on the California coast, sort of maybe has some good vibes out there, can putt on these greens. I think that he could be okay. And then I liked your call on Kizzire. We were playing him at like 7,100 in PGA Tour events down the stretch where he was coming. I remember people played him and got through with him at the Fantasy Golf World Championship, like round 1 or 2. So I think that's interesting. Yeah, a complex kid, Carson Young. I was looking up something on him after Hoop said it, and I think he actually has like a decent result recently. They
said 12th at the Corn Ferry Tour Oh, wow. He's actually been top 20 in 3 out of 4. I'm in on, I have to play some Carson Young now.
Yeah, I will not be joining you. I don't care. Go ahead. You do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Dozer mentioned Benny Ann is back. Yeah, he is. He got his card back, which is awesome. I like that guy, and he's funny on Twitter. Yeah. I bet him at 200 to 1 with a top 5 each way, but I can't get on him here. So Smotherman is the other guy we've played a lot of. I'm not sure on these two. I'll pick and choose between Smotherman and Augusto Nunez, another big birdie maker that I think you could find here, and you could use him. And then just going down, I think that's it, Hoops. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I still only have 8, 9 guys down here. So it's like plenty. That might be my pool. You guys might be able to just write it down and take that and make it your player pool. That's what I'm going to do. Mix and match. Look at sort of avoiding some of these situations in roster construction where I think a lot of people will end up. But that's all I really got, Hoop. Do you have anything else? We're going to do our winners and stuff in a second, but do you have it on the pricing and stuff? Do you have any other thoughts on that? Any roster construction things you want to bring up? Any other strategies for the week?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that just stands out from talking through this, it's like, man, you look at a guy at like Troy Merritt at 8'7", who we both kind of like, but like, what's the difference between like Troy Merritt and then like, I don't know, Lee Hodges or Taryn or something? So maybe like playing a guy like Troy Merritt doesn't make as much sense. Like maybe that 8K range, just talking through it. Like to me, there's just not that much a difference between those guys. I think there's a big drop off going from 9K to that 8K range. Now, yeah, guys like Sue, I still like. Guys like Montgomery, I'm still in on. But I think I might be a little more hesitant to play those guys because, again, like some of these guys in the lower sevens just aren't that much different to me than the guys in the 8.
Yeah, I love that call. And that's why talking through it is great. And then we're going to do this every week here. It's a free show. Like we said, if you guys can do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe so you get the notification every week. But just the point you made there, like if now it all comes full circle. You go back to the top of this show. Remember in the chat, people were talking about what we knew would be popular is it's so easy to build a Taylor Pendrith, Cameron Davis lineup. Well, who do you think goes into those lineups? Someone from the 8K range, if not 2, and then landing into the 7s. And you just mentioned it, like the 8K range, it is true. When you compare it, there's actually not much of a difference between Suh, Mullinex, Merritt, McCarthy, all these guys, Dietrich, than the guys at 7,500, like Spawn, Long, Lipsky, Jaeger. Like these are all some of the best guys. So for me, just taking that as a perspective of how I think, it's like, okay, how can I still use Pendrith and Davis, who I like? Well, why not put those two with Davis Riley or those two with McNeely stacked on top and then land in that lower 7K range and then just pick one of those 6K guys that I like. And you can start mixing in your 10K guy at that point too, because you're just skipping over the range and you'll say it's going to get popular. It's almost like how people look at wave stacks in golf. If you remember, the most popular week for wave stacks last year was the Players Championship. Only 8% stacked. Oh, the right wave, which was the wrong wave. I took the L on that one already, but the other side was 1%. Less than 10% of the field stacked any wave with massive weather. So that's the point I'll make there. Last night in Showdown in general, in NFL, the 5-1 stacks where you've got a captain and 4 other guys from the same team with one on the other side, everyone's going to do it. It's like 16% of the field on the busiest night. Last night, 84% of the field did not stack it. I mean, that's not what you needed last night. But my point being, if you think everyone's going to stack Pendrith and Davis, try and stack it differently. And if you say, oh, Tambos, everyone's going to figure that out by Thursday, they're going to do the same thing. No, not what you think. 8 to 10% of the field. So if you have 40% of your lineups built that way, you've got leverage on the stack build that others are using in stars and scrubs versus balanced. And you're kind of going in the middle with like an upper balance, but you're really going heavy on the stars still. So I think it's just another interesting way to build for this week, Coop. That'd be my final thoughts. What do you got for a winner and a long shot? If you have anything else to add, by all means, chime in.
No, just I like that little conversation there at the end in terms of like roster construction stuff. In terms of my winner, I'm gonna go Wyndham Clark. He's not a favorite by any means, with 65-1, good price on him, winning upside when his game's right. And then my long shot is gonna be Matthew Neesmith. He is 130 to 1 on DraftKings. I really like that price tag. And then I'll throw in a bonus one too that I just found down here. Mr. Lee Hodges, 130 to 1 as well. So, this is the event where you can definitely get a long shot. If I was, if you are someone that bets winners each and every week, I would wait. Am I looking at the right thing? Yeah. Okay. It was sorting weird.
I was gonna say, with those names, you're in the right pool.
Yeah. But I think this is the week to bet some long shots. I don't think you really want to go to the top of the board and bet anyone. I would be picking up some long shots this week. So, it's kind of where I'm at in terms of the winners.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were looking at there. I thought you were checking.
Well, I was looking at the odds, but then when I scrolled down, like the column lined up weird on DraftKings where it was saying top 20. I was like, wait, there's no way this doesn't make sense, but we got it all figured out.
I thought it was your Canadian dating app and you were seeing if Nick Taylor didn't get back yet. But
yeah, seeing where I can find my Canadian guys.
I got 7 bets for the week. I'm not gonna list them all. They were on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates. They're all 50-1 or higher, like and at like 200, whatever. But my 2 favorites. So my pick to win, Davis Riley, 35-1, like that. And then my long shot that I like the most is Patrick Rogers at 110. So see what number you can get on him there. I like my other bets, but those are the 2 that are my favorite for winner and for long shot. And like I said, I'm liking what I see, even with the Riley ownership. It just one of those things where he's going to get ownership, but if it's 15, 16%, and I've got 30 or 40%, and I'm building differently, like we talked about, unknown, whoever it is said in the chat, the field usually isn't as smart as we think it may be. And I said, we're in a bubble. We're watching a Tuesday golf show and Tuesday afternoon. Like now, not many people are doing that. So, but many will play just to play or build their lineups and throw them in because they're already in the streets for NFL or MLB or everything that's upcoming. So keep that in mind when you're out there doing it. If you like this show, leave a comment, tell us what you liked. If you want to keep these shows free, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. And then lastly, if you want the real deal, like this was the preview, but now our cores, tiers, everything that we're doing for the slate where we're picking our top 3 plays to put into our main lineup. Hoop's going to have the cash chart up with all the best plays for cash games this week and double ups where you can just take his core values there, put them together in a lineup, put the thoughts you heard here together and build some winning lineups that way. If you want all that, runpuresports.com. Check it out for a month. Sign up. It's all sports. Like I said, there's over 8 sports for one price. There's maybe more than that actually, but that's just to put a number on it. All sports, one price. You're going to be able to get in, check it out for a month. You can get Saber Sim if you want an optimizer as well. That's going to do it for this week though, guys. We appreciate you sticking here with us. For Hoop, for myself, Toe Tag and Tambo, Simon, get us out of here, man.